it's still the happiest thing, whether I'm on the stage or off the stage, just the way that I can connect with the universe. It's just the absolute best. And it's the same, that part's the same.
Yeah.
It's just, things hurt more now. But I'm still willing to do it. You know?
Welcome to Let's Make a Mixtape. For the first episode of Season 1, I sat down with my friend Karl Agell to talk about his opening track selection. You might know Karl from his time in the legendary Raleigh, North Carolina band Corrosion of Conformity. He was the vocalist during the Blind album era, and he also got his start in the hardcore scene in a band called Seizure, which we'll talk a bit about in the episode. He then went on to form several other bands, including the fantastic rock band Leadfoot and his current project Lie Heavy, which is another supergroup of sorts, featuring members of the Backsliders, Confessor, and some of the other guys from Leadfoot. It is fantastic. I've seen them live several times in the last couple of months. They know what they're doing, and you should make a point to listen to them and to go check them out if they come to a town near you. They just released their first record, Burn to the Moon, and it is glorious. Karl also serves as the lead vocalist of The Skull, filling in for the late Eric Wagner, and he also contributes his vocal talents to the Legion of Doom, a group which was created to honor the memory of Wagner and includes members from The Skull, Blood of the Sun, Sacred Dawn, and Saint Vitus. As this is the first episode, I should state that we're not able to play the song selection because I don't want to piss off the copyright gods, but Karl has given me the all clear to play a track from Lie Heavy, so be sure to check that out at the end of the episode. You can hear this episode's featured song, Karl's selection, Intro, by Bad Brains on the Season 1 playlist, which lives on Spotify and YouTube, and is updated with each new episode, so be sure to follow along. You can find links to those playlists as well as a transcript of today's show and show notes at letsmixtape.com. Thank you so much for listening. I am excited to kick off the season with Karl. So without further ado, let's make a mixtape. You chose Intro by Bad Brains off of their album Eye Against Eye. Why did you pick Intro?
Because it's called Intro, dude. Duh. No, it made me, it was just so silly. Just, you said, what could be the opening song? And it's just this short instrumental track that is literally the introduction to that brilliant record. And I feel kind of, a lot of people have different albums they love by them, but somehow they were peaking to me at that point. Mm-hmm. There's something just about the musicality and the insane fusion of reggae, hardcore, and metal that they were all about, and the energy. And it's just a great short track. It just popped into my head. I'm like, this is the perfect track. Intro.
So what makes it the perfect opener in your eyes?
It just sets things up like a good introduction does. It I don't know how to describe it, but it's dynamic. It's got pauses. It's got air. It builds anticipation. What's next? It draws you in instantly. At least in my world.
So, do you prefer with albums the first track being kind of an element of mystery and setting the tone of what's to come, or?
Yeah, I think, why not? Yes, that's a good take on it.
All right.
Yeah.
Bad Brains, did you cross paths at all?
Yes, I'd seen them before when I was part of the Connecticut hardcore scene, going down to New York City
with Seizure.
With Seizure, my band from '83 to '87, my first band, essentially, and I mean definitely my first band, and they were just kind of the legends from DC, but I had the supreme honor of opening up for the original lineup, and it was, I think, my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth show I'd ever played with COC before the Blind Album even came out. It was the summer of, or I think it was summer of '89.
Wow. Okay.
So I know we did Virginia Beach opening for them, the Roxy down in Atlanta, Tennessee. We did Nashville, and we did Charlotte at the 4808. I remember it was really, really cool.
Did you have any key memories from that experience?
I remember them almost not making the gig.
Oh no!
There was some the usual Bad Brains touring wacky hijinks. There was always some kind of issue going on, I think. And the other band was Leeway on the bill from New York, so that was really cool. Those guys are awesome. And I just remember they ran late. I think it was the first show was Charlotte, and everybody was kind of freaking out, but then they showed up and made good. Yeah. Oh, and Virginia Beach. That was a great show. Just watching the Godfather HR, basically one of the best front guys and amazing vocalist, but his performance, just him, that is so captivating. All eyes upon him, just a complete and total badass, otherworldly thing, And I guess the height, of watching them, you could see them at CB's, you'd be doing a backflip and then keep singing, that kind of thing. Just the sheer athleticism and fury, that they used to bring. And then they flipped the script and would go full-blown reggae and then have some super reggae heavy sets that would upset a lot of hardcore kids because they're like, oh, why are they playing all the reggae stuff, But that was their right to do that,
Yeah, of course.
So, and it was really cool. HR actually came to see us play during the COC Blind reunion stuff we did.
Oh, wow.
In 2015, I think he came out.
Okay.
In Baltimore, he showed up. So it was really, really cool to see him out there in the crowd. And unexpected.
Yeah.
So we were just blown away by that.
That's
Reed
awesome.
and I were very, very happy.
You keep a lot of contacts with some of the bands you were running with back in the day?
Our paths cross occasionally.
Sure. Yeah.
There's some people in the scene for sure, here and there, but no, not actively. I'd say that'd be a lie if I said I was actively on the phone with people or texting or something, But, we all know who we were and where we were. And,
yeah.
I think there's still that mutual respect, I hope, and at least from my point of view. So I'm always excited to see that people are still going.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hell of a legacy for a lot of bands.
What kind of brought you into that hardcore scene initially? What made you want to start a band and basically play with Seizure?
Another pissed off teenager,
Yeah.
I just moved to the United States and when I was 15, I just turned 15 years old 2 weeks before I set foot in New York City first, and then point of entry, or was living in Connecticut, in Greenwich specifically, very preppy, uptight.
Mm-hmm.
It was the height of the Reagan era. Was just kicking into gear. Yuppie and preppy were the keywords back then. I know
Sure.
That's ancient history for a lot of you people. Look it up. But I was just this little disgruntled rock and roller, and then I found kinship in what I didn't realize there was this amazing indie hardcore punk scene in Stamford, Connecticut that operated out of a club called the Anthrax Gallery. And upstairs there was an art gallery, and people would have their art and photos up there, and then poetry readings and whatnot, all kinds of stuff. And then you'd go downstairs to this illegal club, basically, totally illegal, and see every mind-blowing hardcore punk band, new wave band, whatever, coming through. You name it, European, U.S., any band you can think of came through there. It was mind-blowing. 5 bands every Friday night, 5 bands every Saturday night. And then it was only, 45 minutes north of New York City, so we'd get on that Metro North train and ride down and catch CB's matinees and shows at the Rock Hotel and Irving Plaza. And
you said you caught Bad Brains at CB's. Did you catch any other of those legendary groups playing CB?
I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but no, it's literally too many to list. I mean, you name it, I saw them there. And COC, my first show with COC in New York City was when I joined the band. Was there, and
oh no shit, that's
at
dope.
CB's, and I'd actually played there with 3 other bands. So I played there with 4 different bands over the years, including even Leadfoot and obviously COC, Seizure, and School of Violence, another band I was in. When we played there at CB's it was the return of COC, and we were still, this is pre-blind,
Mm-hmm.
so we were still playing all the old tunes off of Animosity and Technocracy and even Eye for an Ice. And it was such a highly anticipated show, the return of the band, because the band had been quiet for about a year and a half after Simon and Bob left. And the turnout, it was packed to the gills, and it became such a violent affair that it got so insane with some really shitty skinhead stuff going on that we stopped the show 3 times. There was ambulances lined up outside. Yeah, it just got really crazy. I was just like, okay, we didn't finish our set.
Damn.
And there's a picture of me that back when, all these metal rags.
Yeah.
Metal Maniacs was one of them. And they had these little inserts, the main cover piece, and then these little kind of photographic inserts, for those of you who can imagine that maybe. And I was on one of the little inserts, and you could see me standing there on stage surrounded by people. If you looked in the background, right kind of behind me, in the depth of field, there was a kid with a chain wrapped around his hand coming down from the stage.
Oh, shit.
And it's in the picture. And if you don't look at it, you don't see it right away. And I was like, yeah, it got really messy. And we're like, okay, this is not fun anymore. It was amazing at first, and then it was just terrifying.
Ooh, did you ever go back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we went back, but we also played a lot of other places in New York.
Sure.
So, yeah, I was lucky I stepped into a ready-made thing, obviously, with COCs, built and drawn, stuff like that. So, but it was cool. Yeah, I played a lot of places in the city, but good old CBs now. Like, I don't even know what it is now.
Did you ever have any sort of feelings when you step on a stage that's legendary? Did you ever have any sort of like emotional reaction, or do you still?
Oh yeah, I mean, you never know what's gonna. At least I never know what's gonna make me trigger that kind of feeling. But some of these monster stages, like I just played with the Skull Legions of Doom specifically, over there were just massive. Hellfest and Grass Pop specifically, and it's huge. It's an arena stage, and that's just crazy. I had had that experience before with COC when we opened up for Iron Maiden too. Like we played Red Rocks, which is kind of mind blowing.
Whoa!
It's the summer of '92. It was us and Testament and Iron Maiden, and just to ride those special 4-wheel drive trucks up and they get dropped off and hike up there, and
wow.
See the kids camped out with the normal banners back in the day, in the olden days. And no, that stage is mind-blowing. It's, you're up there in the Rockies. It's unreal, So I've had the good fortune of doing that. But there's been a lot of... Played the Whiskey was a great stage.
Ooh.
Really cool, legendary
stage.
Sunset Strip,
Yeah.
Whiskey Go-Go going...
Yeah.
Whether it was, the Germs or the Doors, or whoever, whatever era.
Yeah.
Minneapolis, First Ave was always amazing. 7th Street entry and First Avenue. It's just mind-blowing, famous stage. Like Prince used to play. And I played there like 3 times, I think.
Circling back to Bad Brains, do you revisit those records often?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, that era, just, their first, the Roar cassette, Vanity Seek, that era, like, essential hardcore boot camp kind of stuff to me, like must have in the kit, the Desert Island hardcore punk kit.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Any others, any other desert records?
There's tons, but I don't know. Damaged Black Flag, that early, all the early kind of stuff, I guess. Just for me, no, I'm not disparaging anything current or less, not from the original wave. And there's so much good stuff from all periods, but those are just essential. And I don't know. There's so many other things. I like Discharge, Hear Nothing, Say Nothing, See Nothing. That's the quintessential British punk rock, assault.
I asked these questions, but also if I was asked these questions, I don't think I could. I feel like I put people in a very difficult position. That I myself.
No, it's I think it's fun to look back. Yeah, I was very, very fortunate, and obviously I wasn't the only one. I was very lucky to be a part of some really amazing stuff that was going on. I just showed up and there it was, you know?
Yeah.
And no better place for a 16-year-old. And going back to the band thing, I was never planning to be in a band. I'd played harmonica and saxophone when I was younger, chamber ensemble and jazz ensemble in Hong Kong. Had a Silmer knockoff alto sax my mom bought me that I still have. I think some people realize that my great aunt gave me a Hohner harmonica in the key of C when I was 10 for my 10th birthday. So I think certain people were kind of just always knew I was into stuff and should express myself.
Yeah.
So I was a pretty ripping harmonica player for a while when I was a tween. But anyway, so I was just hanging out, and then Jeff Coleman, the drummer of Seizure, approached me and said, "Hey man, do you want to sing for our band?" I was like, "Okay." And the practice space was in the tiny basement of this basically shoebox of a house, row house in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we could barely fit in the little basement. And there was like a Fender Vibrochamp amp with a headphone plugged into the jack, and I sang into the headphone because it works as a microphone. When you plug the 1/4-inch headphone jack in, there was no microphone, so I was screaming through that. And the diaphragm, it actually works.
That's gnarly.
Try that at home, kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I remember that clearly, like that was the first foray into it. And
in Hong Kong, what was the music like?
Scene to speak of.
No.
We had AM radio. We had a couple of English stations. It was a British colony at the time.
Sure.
I was there from 71 to 81, and it was basically, there was no scene whatsoever. I remember the only thing that came through is I saw the Osmonds came through, and Peter Pan. You know, we were little kids, we went to that. The year I moved, 81, right after the Clash came through and played some disco in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow.
I totally missed that. Though my sister had turned me on. I had one sister two older sisters, and one turned me on to like Zeppelin, and that kind of, and then the other one, Anna, that was Charlotte, and then Anna, who was turned me on to the Clash and a bunch of new wave stuff and Elvis Costello and all that stuff that was happening at that time.
But nothing hit the airwaves when you were there.
No, so I had listened to the vinyl. I would buy in the Stanley Market. There was a little record store there in the middle of the marketplace with the chickens running around and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
Famous open air market. This guy had the coolest little record store that had great stuff, and but nothing came through. It wasn't that, I can only dream of that. Yeah. I remember I won a record of my choosing on an AM call-in show.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, right. I went in and they gave me a Silver Convention album, which was, super disco. And I was like, oh, gee, thanks. And then they said to go pick it up at the record store, and I traded it in for Sweet Level-Headed by The Sweet.
Nice. Nice.
With they had the Love Is Like Oxygen was on that album. I was kind of disappointed in the rest of the album. It wasn't that rocking. But it was better than the Silver Convention.
Yeah.
Though, check out Silver Convention. They don't suck.
Yeah. Well, disco, it feels like, is having a little bit of a, not explicitly coming back, but a lot of elements seem to be coming back.
Stealing the rhythms.
Yeah.
Or revisiting all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, there's some jamming stuff back then for sure.
Yeah.
I was sent to summer school one year with my sister, and besides typing, I had to take disco dancing lessons.
Oh.
One summer school, and my sister made me take it with her so she'd have a dancing partner.
So do you still
have
some of that muscle memory?
Moves. No. Actually, I remember a couple. Jeez, it's insane. It was like 1978 or something like that.
Wow. Dig back in the old memory and break out some disco.
Thankfully, Anna turned me on, and she bought me my first punk rock record, the first Clash album.
Nice. They just erased that.
Yeah. She was pardoned for her sins.
Perfect. Did you ever incorporate your harmonica and or saxophone playing into any of your recordings? There
is an outtake on the Blind album.
Oh.
Of me fiddling around somewhere, but I don't know where that is, but buried in somewhere.
Sure.
but and then harmonica, we talked about it. Leadfoot especially being the more rock and roll kind of vibe. We talked about it. Just, I don't know. Never happened. Yeah.
Next La Heavy record.
Yeah, there you go.
Throw some on there. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to tell Ron Holzer that Legions of Doom is going to open it with a big harmonica intro.
Beautiful.
In fact, I'm going to do intro by the Bad Brains on harmonica.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard it here first. No.
In all of your various projects, your massive discography, any laboring over what track to open with? Like how much time did you devote to deciding which songs to open the Leadfoot records with and Lie Heavy? And
I've always agonized over that in a good way. I've sequenced every record I've been on.
Yeah.
I can say that. Even Blind, I sequenced. And
Nice.
No one could argue that point if they were just lie detector time.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not saying, but I was really important for me. I mean, I wasn't saying like I said it and it was the law, but
right.
I made my case.
Sure.
And my case was decided to be a good case, like a good decision. And, because I think an album is a narrative that has to have, attack, sustain, all that, whatever, however you want to look at it, but it begins somewhere. I like the idea of the journey and then some kind of finish, or, I'm not saying it has to be a perfect conclusion, but I like the idea of a flow, kind of like, a good set list.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And I know we live in the age of singles, and I guess people did live in the age of singles a long time ago as well. So it's not anything new.
But it's an album genre.
But an album genre that's what we're in. I like to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And everybody's in agreement with me there, I think. And we went to some pains with the Lie Heavy albums, the most recent effort in that front, to make it flow well, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So and every Leadfoot album was like that too. And even the Blind record and the Seizure EP, I had control over that.
Nice.
School of Violence, I don't think I had any say on that. Maybe I did. I might have. I don't know.
Do you have a different, as far as picking what song goes first on a record versus what song you play live in a set list? Do you have any different thought camps there?
Yes, because the reality of it is, and this, is sometimes what can happen in a matter of sequencing digital ones and zeros and all that is very difficult to pull off live. And sometimes you just like, oh my God, I can't go into that one because my fingers will fall off, or I'll blow my voice out, or you know what I mean? Like the ebb and flow. So it can be done, but sometimes you have to do it differently. And then also there's other material that might not be in the album. You want to stick it in somewhere and loop around. We actually do open the show with the same track as of right now. Nothing to Steal is always kind of the opener, but everything else kind of is different from that point on. So just depends.
Yeah.
And also I think too, with the album thing too, you live, it's different in the sense you want a slightly different narrative, I think, because you're there in the room interacting and breathing the same air. And I feel like I could manage expectations and do stuff differently with something that's just kind of a finished product that I've when it's just out there and it's by itself in the world, it has to be kind of just sent out in a certain state, I think.
So you're saying you read the room and adjust accordingly?
I do. I unless something's going terribly wrong, obviously we can stop something. You know, I think that's the whole thing, is you can make things work. Yeah. Just by being present. I mean, that's also the kind of music we play, right?
Sure.
But any music shouldn't matter. If you're busking with a harmonica on the street or something, read the room, baby. Read the street.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Good advice. Yeah. Anything that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about, or you want to shout out, or you want to circle back to about opening tracks or Bad Brains?
Oh, I don't know. I'm real good at rambling. I could probably go on and on about everything and nothing.
I'm fine. I mean, there's only one planned question for this show, and it's why'd you pick the song? And then wherever we go, it's out of my control.
That going back to that song, I just think it just for me was just such a happy, powerful place. I know there's people could argue earlier records by them and this and all that, but just for me, something about when I first put that on and heard them, and I was like anticipating, what are they going to do now? And they did that, and it's just such a cool setup, and it was such a, for me, really interesting, cool period of time in the scene of bands, and it was sort of a cool pinnacle, at least for them, I see it that way. They had other stuff too. And they had some questionable things that they pulled to as individuals and politically and all that stuff. I don't want to get into all that, but just from a pure musical perspective, I don't know. It's just such a cool moment.
I mean, they had such an impact on the scene, on the sound. Like you can't negate their legacy and musical contributions by any means.
So many bands are super complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in a couple of those.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So what are you gonna do, man?
Yeah.
But super cool moment in time for me.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you got to be not just witness it, but also be a part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Super lucky on that front. Part of it too, and like anything else in life, is making it happen.
Yeah.
So I feel like, hey, I could have just not been into that kind of shit, but I have the good fortune of having people that brought me in, and it was the most amazing scene back then, and beyond even the Connecticut scene, which was just family, and I'm still in touch with so many of those people. It was just a very cool place for a frustrated teenager that was mad at the world to be. And instead of committing crimes or hurting myself and or others, I was able to channel that despair and aggression and rage and joy and everything into a pretty cool place with a lot of other people feeling the same thing.
I love that. The communion of that is
and that's
so special.
That's beyond the punk hardcore thing. That's music, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the best.
Amen.
That's right. Amen. That's our religion.
Music is the best, to quote Frank Zappa. Yeah.
Exactly. It is the best.
Do you notice any stark differences between, I'm going to use the scene, but in a more broad sense of doing the thing, going out and playing shows and interacting with people at shows and seeing shows? Any stark differences, good or bad, that you see then versus now doing the thing?
I mean, it's totally different. It's totally the same. You know what I mean? It's I'm older, a lot older, literally still going to shows 40 years later. I said it out loud, or longer.
Yeah.
Got an early start, and it's still the happiest thing, whether I'm on the stage or off the stage. Just the way that I can connect with the universe. It's just the absolute best. And it's the same. That part's the same. Yeah. It's just things hurt more now. But I'm still willing to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's kept me younger than most in that sense. It's like it's just a, if it's too loud, you're too old, that kind of bullshit aphorism or whatever, but it's kind of true. Something to it.
Yeah.
If you can't hack it anymore, then maybe you can't hack it anymore.
Yeah.
Deaf and proud.
But at least, being a bass player, I can feel the sound, which is nice. It's I can still. So even when I've completely blown out my eardrums, I'll still just sit on my bass cab and
just feel the vibrations. Yeah. I say what a lot more now.
What?
Exactly. Exactly.
I have to turn
poor other people around me.
I have to put subtitles on. For so many
reasons.
Closed
captioning's where it's at, man. Yeah, man. Everything's like a foreign movie. The whole world is a foreign movie.
Yeah. I wish life came with captions.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be great. Well, Karl, thank you so much for talking with me.
This is awesome.
Thanks for helping me make a mixtape. And
man.
Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for letting me ramble on. I appreciate it very much. Thank you
Literally
so much,
anytime.
Look forward to it again.
All right. Massive thanks to Karl for those wonderful stories. And I want to share with you some of Karl's wonderful music. As promised, here is a track from the brand new Lie Heavy record, Burn to the Moon, which is out wherever you get your music. This is Drag the World.
You'll never know
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and write a review within your favorite podcast service to feed those algorithm gods. Show notes and transcript can be found at letsmixtape.com, and wherever you get your social media, you can follow us at Let's Mixtape. Theme music for the show was composed by the one and only Scotty Sandwich. Tune in next week as I discuss opening tracks with my bandmate in Doomsday Prophet, Brian Reed.